So finally, I'll just touch on the brand new line, the premium line of feeds that we have created. It's called the Pro Series feed, and you can see the updated bags there on the right-hand side. Every single one of these feeds has 100% natural vitamin E, which should be standard in all feeds today, but it's not. 100% natural vitamin E because horses get vitamin E from fresh green grass. And most of our horses do not get enough fresh green grass in their diet. They really need to eat about 17 hours out of the day, fresh green grass, to get enough vitamin E. So it's really important that we are supplementing our horses with natural vitamin E. So all the vitamin E in these products is 100% natural. 100% organic selenium. We know that vitamin E and selenium work together as powerful antioxidants. And again, the inorganic form of selenium is sodium selenite, and it is what I consider a rock type mineral. Organic selenium, what we do is we take that rock type selenium that we've mined out of the ground, and we take a tiny plant, yeast, and we grow that yeast on that rock selenium, and that yeast absorbs the selenium, and then we feed the horse that yeast that is enhanced with that selenium. And that kind of leads me to the chelated minerals or organic minerals, and why are they important to horses? Well, I want to start out by horses are designed to eat plants, not rocks. But all minerals are rocks. Okay, where's she going with this? If horses are meant to eat plants and she's telling me they need minerals, but minerals are rocks, how are they supposed to get minerals? Well, plants have roots that go down into the ground and absorb minerals and nutrients and moisture up into the leaves and stems so that it can help it grow. The horse then eats that plant matter that has those minerals in it. And when those minerals are in that plant, they're in what we consider their organic form. They're attached to an organic substance, so they're going to be much more bioavailable to the horse so that they can actually be absorbed and not just go out into your manure pile. So chelated minerals in all of these products. The CalSea, the marine-derived calcium, or calcite, is in all of these products. The chem-trace chromium is in all of these products. We've used what we consider super fibers. So you're going to see a lot of beet pulp and soy hulls in these products because they're highly digestible. Another kind of pet talk of mine is talking about hindgut health and feeding the microbiome that lives in the hindgut of the horse. And in order to keep the horse healthy, you need to keep the microbiome healthy. And how you do that is feeding it a variety of different fiber sources. So we're adding those to the feeds. All the feeds are very palatable, and we're also using very high quality protein sources. And when I mean high quality protein sources, we're looking at protein sources that are also going to bring those essential amino acids like lysine, methionine to the table. So we'll kind of start at the beginning at the least amount that you would feed per day, and this is the zone pellet. So the zone pellet has been in the Banks Mill lineup for quite some time. It was a 2 pound a day feeding rate. We've concentrated the nutrition, and it's down to a 1 pound per day per 1,000 pound horse feeding rate. So the way I say my kind of general rule of thumb for who gets the zone pellet is if you have a horse that's eating less than 3 pounds of your grain concentrate per day, they need to get the zone. It's what we consider a ration balancer. It's a pellet. Horses that need to go on a weight loss diet program, or they're eating hay and they're maintaining their weight very well, so they don't really need extra calories, but this is going to give them the vitamins and minerals they need. It's very low carb due to the feeding rate. It's 1 pound a day, so it's extremely low carb. I think most people are pretty familiar with ration balances, and when they see the 26% protein, it doesn't freak them out like it did when these products were new to the market. Percentages really mean nothing unless they're attached to an amount. So I could write 100% on the screen, but it means nothing to you unless I attach it to an amount. But 100% of a mouse, well, that's not very much. 100% of jumbo jet, no, that's a lot. So 26% of 1 pound, well, it's a hair over 4 ounces. That's really not much when we're looking at in the grand scheme of horse feeding. It's low fat because this is meant to be more of that Jenny Krager diet balancer, and low fiber because again you're feeding your horse hay or some kind of fiber source. You can also use this with an unfortified grain like oats, for example, to balance the diet. Let's say we're feeding somewhere in the lines of about 3 pounds per day, anything from 3 pounds up. Now we're looking at something like the Cool Stride. Now you'll notice that across the board, all of these Pro Series feeds are going to be lower in carbohydrates than your signature line of feeds. This is a low carb, high fiber pellet. It's got that chromium in there, so it's going to improve the mode of insulin action, help with metabolic syndrome, blood glucose, calm energy, light to moderate work, trail riding, low hunter classes. Maybe we've got easy keepers at a boarding training stable where they need a little bit more than the balancer, but they don't need a full-blown performance feed, little higher in fat. And again, because it's only the minimum feeding rate is about 3 pounds a day, we've still got to concentrate it with a little more protein. Cool Carb, this is our low carb pelleted feed. It's got no molasses or corn or oats or barley. Again, that chromium in there to improve glucose and insulin function. Now, a lot of times with our metabolic or laminitic horses, I go to the balancer, to the zone pellet. That's if the horse is fat. If the horse needs some more groceries to help maintain body weight or is exercising more, then the Cool Carb is really the ideal feed if you're riding a horse that's, currently suffering from metabolic issues. The Sport 14 is across the board 14 protein, 14 fat, 14 fiber. You're going to be hard pressed to find another feed on the market and with as high a fat. That's a full feed. It's textured, it's high fat, high fiber, no corn, great for weight gain, very digestible. Decreases the sensitivity to stress. A lot of our high performance horses are stressing because of the transporting and the intense exercise. So also helps support gut health because we've really decreased the grains in it as well. The breeding feed is for broodmares, stallions, and growing horses. The chromium is really going to help improve milk yield and immune response. And we know that foals are born with no immune response. So as much passive immune transfer that we can get from the mare to the foal in utero is fantastic. We know that fat mares, their insulin sensitivity is decreased just due to their obesity. And we also know that mares, when they're cycling, their insulin sensitivity is already just naturally decreased. So you add a fat mare on top of that and it exacerbates that. So the breeding feed is designed for these pregnant mares, foals, and stallions. If, however, you are like, I've only got one brood mare and I've got a barn full of performance horses and I really don't want to bring in another feed. If she's a really fat mare, you can feed her the zone pellet, or you can also do the Sport 14. We designed the Sport 14 so that you can feed this to brood mares and stallions and growing horses as well. And finally, the senior care. What we know is that older horses decrease their ability to deal with sugar and starch. They're not full-blown insulin resistant or metabolic. Now, a lot of them do get to that point, but just being senior doesn't make you have metabolic syndrome. But we do know that their insulin sensitivity decreases. So old horses should not be eating high sugar starch diets. This has no corn, no oats, no barley. It's a pelleted feed because the true senior horse can't chew hay can't chew long stem hay. So you can see the fiber content has really increased because this can be fed as the sole ration. So this is what we consider a true complete feed. Typically though, if you do have a horse that is struggling with dentition and we want to feed, we can't feed any long stem hay, I'll recommend doing the senior care and maybe adding in another forage pellet, whether it be an alfalfa pellet or a Timothy pellet, just to give them a little bit more variety of fiber source. But this one can be fed on its own.
Animal nutritionists formulate diets to provide carbohydrates as an energy source for livestock. Using different digestive processes, cows and pigs convert these carbohydrates into glucose, which is ultimately released into the bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, glucose can reach different organs in the body. When the blood reaches the animal's pancreas, beta cells inside the pancreas detect the rising glucose levels. To reduce the glucose level, beta cells release insulin into the bloodstream. As blood circulates through the animal, insulin and glucose exit the bloodstream into tissues to reach the animal's cells. Many of the animal cells have specific receptors on their surfaces that bind to the circulating insulin. Insulin acts like a key in a lock to open the cell by activating glucose transporters so that the circulating glucose can get inside the cell. The dietary trace element, chromium, is necessary to optimize the activation of the insulin receptor so that more glucose can get into the cell. A maximum of 4 chromium molecules may bind to one insulin receptor, which can lead to an 8-fold difference in insulin receptor activation. Adding supplemental ChemTrace chromium propionate to the diet provides the additional chromium for insulin receptor activation. Chromium enhances this reaction, causing glucose transporter activation, allowing additional glucose to enter the cell. The additional glucose will allow for more energy to be available for proper cell function. Proper functioning cells can lead to a healthier, more productive animal.